Thank you for tuning in. This is DJ Fubfresh from SegaShiro.com. If you can, check out some of our sponsors, and today we are looking at Groove On Fight by Atlus, developed by Atlus in 1997. Fight is a bit of a departure from the earlier Power Instinct titles. While those games featured a lot of humor and were silly, this one has a much darker and more serious tone than its predecessors. The story is still sequential, following 20 years after the last tournament. However, the tone has taken quite a different change. Atlus also introduced a few of their own game characters, which you might recognize from other Sega Saturn titles, when they rebranded the title as Groove On Fight. So let's begin with the graphics. Now, this is a mixed bag for sure on the Sega Saturn. For one, it's not quite up to par with some of the other 2D fighters on the system. Obviously, the Capcom games do a great job at getting as close to arcade perfect as possible. Now, this game was built on the STV, the Sega Titan Video arcade board, and the whole idea of that arcade board was to allow for near perfect arcade ports to the Saturn. Unfortunately, with this case, quite a few of the animations were cut, and it gives it a bit of a choppy feel overall. However, actually playing the game is not so bad, and with the 1 meg cartridge that comes with a couple of the Sega Saturn titles, the game actually improves quite noticeably. One thing that this game has in spades, though, is a sense of style. Where other fighters seem kind of generic, or Me Too in some ways, this game has really gone out and developed its own artistic style, its own artistic merit, and that's worth noting. I would go so far as to say that it's exactly that unique style that makes this game a worthy title to have in your Sega Saturn collection and in your import collection. You know, Atlus has really done a great job bringing this sort of Japanese dark gothic style, and yet keeping a bit of humor intact. In fact, compared to some of the SNK games that came out earlier on the Sega Saturn, this game plays quite a bit better. The gameplay has held up surprisingly strong over the years. It's a 2-on-2 format with the ability to tag in and out at any time between players. When you successfully tag, so your opponent can actually stop the tag from occurring, which is a nice little strategy element, the player on the sideline slowly begins to get their energy back. It's a nice little touch, makes the game a little deeper than some of the other fighters. Generally, the game has all your standard options. You know, you have versus mode and arcade mode. All of the menus are in English, so that makes it really easy to find your way through the game. However, none of the story elements are in English, so if you want to know what's really going on, they've kind of left you in the dark there, which is unfortunate because of how interesting this universe could be. So another unique feature about this title is that Atlus has actually coded in the ability to have 4 players play at the same time by way of the Sega Saturn multi-tap. Now, the multi-tap is a bit hard to find nowadays. However, if you can get your hands on one or already own one, it makes this title a blast to play. I mean, you get 3 of your friends over and just sort of hammer on each other in this really weird, strange, gothic universe. Most 2D fighters, you have your special beater bars where you can charge up to launch a super move or a finisher. Also, you have a dodge function which allows you to dodge move and then produce a counterattack. And you also have a power blow move. Now, this is an unblockable attack. However, the trick to that is that you have a 2-second frame where you're just holding and charging the attack before you launch it. So it's really a timing issue to sort of land that attack and use it in your repertoire of moves. So what is there left to say about Groove On Fight? It's a very unique fighter on a system that has a lot of Me Too games. In that respect, it's worth having in your collection. However, you know, it does have some very obvious flaws that are worth noting. And finally, this is the game that has the most underboob I have ever seen in my entire life, and that is hilarious, to say the least. That said, this is DJ Fobfresh, signing out from SegaShiro.com. Please check out the site. If you like the resource, check out our sponsors. That keeps us going. And we'll see you next time, so keep on gaming.